Welcome back to the 2 Months Hockey Podcast presented by Kentwood Ford. I'm your host, Joshua Marshall, and our guest this afternoon here on Saturday. He is a Stanley Cup champion. He is the TSN Director of Scouting and TSN Hockey Analyst, and he also predicted the Florida Panthers would win the Stanley Cup, which they did this year. We have Craig Button. Craig, how's it going?
Yeah, it's going great. I mean, the Stanley Cup final was compelling. Certainly when you look at the outcome, I don't think you could say that the better team didn't win. I think the captain of the Edmonton Oilers, Connor McDavid, acknowledged that as well. And I loved what he said in his postseason media availability. He said last year it was, like it was heartbreaking. He said this year we're angry. And, when you get angry, you want to get after it again. So I don't have any question that Connor McDavid wants to get after it, and he feels that he can't wait for the season to start, and competing for a Stanley Cup is number one goal for him.
Yeah, and we'll see if we can get some time to get to that and towards the end, but we'll definitely get to some draft stuff here as your Craigslist came out. I believe it's the top 60, and it's a very
80, top 80.
top 80. Okay, so correction, my apologies there. So the top 80 list, but some intriguing names all throughout this list, Craig, and I think maybe the one that I would have the most for me, and I believe you had him ranked. I think it's 50. Yes, 54. 54 is Mason West. What's your thoughts on him, and where do you think his ceiling can get to? And is you would say maybe the Calgary Flames? Do you think the Calgary Flames would be involved in him in terms of a right shot center and adding some more depth up the front too?
Yeah, Mason's a really outstanding athlete. He's a starting quarterback for his high school football team. He's been a really good hockey player. He committed to Michigan State. And when you watch somebody that's that gifted, now I'll go back a little bit in time. During the lockout of 0405, somebody that I'd worked with for a long time, Bob Jernander, he lived in Coleraine, Minnesota, and he was still working for Dallas. And we were going over to North Dakota. He said, "Why don't we just go stop in Virginia? We watched Matt Niskanen play football." And Matt Niskanen was a heck of a hockey player too. And you watch these excellent athletes perform, and I think that being an athlete and athleticism are incredibly important for development. And I think Mason West is an excellent athlete. I think he's got great athleticism, and I think people like that, like whatever sport they choose, are going to excel because they have gifts, they have attributes, but they also have that athleticism. And I think Mason's a player you have to look at and consider where he'll be at in 4 or 5 years' time. And certainly somebody that you could look back and go, geez, what a good pick that was if he goes earlier or if he goes later. But a very, very, very good player in my view.
Yeah. What's the most intriguing thing you think about him? Is it his size, the speed, the skill, creativity? Kind of what's your
Might be all of those things. I don't think it's one singular thing that stands out. I think that he's a player that when you watch him play, he's got excellent hockey sense. He takes the puck to the net. He's got excellent puck skills. He uses his size to his advantage. So when you put all that together, and again, you're projecting players at 17, 18 years of age where they could be at 21, 22, 23 years of age. And certainly that's the exercise that scouts go through. And when you try to look at what a player has and then try to extrapolate that into the future, I think Mason West, like a lot of players, check a lot of boxes.
Mhm. Yeah. Another box that could be checked here, another player you have ranked at 20th, Ivan Rabankin,
Ryabkin.
Ryabkin. Sorry, I already screwed it up once already, but you have him at 20. And it sounds like there's been maybe a lot of discussion maybe about his maturity and character issues, but there's no question that he is a talented player. There's a lot of skill there. Where would he would go in your list in terms of what you would hear off the ice? And does that kind of play a factor in where you would rank him on your list? And is there a team or is there a group that you would circle in the NHL that would take him, knowing what maybe he might have to overcome, or maybe that discussion that is happening about him isn't fair either, too?
Yeah, I can't comment on any of the outside commentary. Bottom line is I go and watch players. I'm not in. I'm not with the team. I don't have to dive into the character. I don't
Yeah.
have to dive into the personality of players. Teams do, and they have to. I don't have to do that, and I don't do it. So I look at players, and rare is the player at 18 years of age or 17 years of age that's mature. So number one, maturity issues. Yeah, they all have maturity issues. They're all going to mature. He just played. He came over from Russia. Came over from Russia. Played on a championship team in Muskegon in the USHL. Was a key contributor to the team. So he's coming over. Culturally, he's trying to adapt. He's trying to advance his hockey career. He's in the language is a challenge, and now people are going to suggest that maybe he's got character issues. As old as dirt.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, look at this. Oh, look at this guy. Oh, he's got character issues. Jeff Friesen, who scored 50 goals as a 16-year-old in Regina, came into his draft year, 1994. And early on in the year, there was comments about Jeff Friesen's character. Well, it just carried on. It was like a groundswell. Anyway, we were in Dallas. We were picking 20th, I believe, and we're down into April, and we're hearing all these things, and we go, is there a possibility he could slip? So we went and did all our work. We went and dug in on Jeff Friesen. There was not one speck of negativity surrounding Jeff Friesen anywhere.
Yeah.
So, these rumblings, these whispers, you know what I call it? Complete BS. Put your name to it. And
Yes.
I've seen it for years, Josh, and it's no different here. What Ivan Ryabkin came to, I know what they do in Muskegon. They want quality people. They want quality players. They're not bringing in people that can't help them win. And keep in mind, massive cultural change for somebody coming over to North America at the same time trying to advance their career.
Yeah.
To me, this player is a really good player. He was a really good player in Russia. He had some growing pains coming over here. I saw him a number of times early on and then later on, and I see real growth in him. He can shoot the puck. He's a competitor. He's got some edge to his game. I don't know who's interested in him, but I think when you look at the package that Ivan brings, there should be lots of teams that should be interested in him.
Yeah, yeah, he's definitely got a skill set for sure that you would want to probably have on your team. And there's this draft is pretty good. It's I think it's pretty deep, and we'll get into that in what your
Yep.
thoughts are at the end. But Caden Lindstrom, obviously drafted last year by the Columbus Blue Jackets. He missed some time, came back. Had some good showings in the WHL playoffs. Roger McQueen, you have him ranked fifth here. He missed some time too. Do you think teams are going to be hesitant on terms of a player missing some time, or is if just with the skills there, the creativity, the hockey IQ, it doesn't matter into that? Obviously, maybe there's a bit of factor in terms of missing some time, but where are you at with McQueen's game?
Well, I think, well, first of all, with his game, I think that if he would have played a full year, he'd be right in the conversation for first overall.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any question about that. 6'5.5" centerman that has every attribute you'd want in a player. To me, that's a high pick. Now, it's up to the NHL teams to go and do the medical background on players and to get access and to be satisfied and confident through their medical personnel that this is something that is not going to cause long-term or problems. Because ultimately, you're drafting a player and you want to have him be part of your organization for a long time and contribute. And much like Caden Lidstrom, I mean, the Columbus Blue Jackets did their work. With those types of back injuries, the only thing you can do is rest. So you can't play. Caden missed the entire season, and I give him full marks for working through the surgery and the rehab and being patient with it because it's not easy. And the Columbus Blue Jackets were great with him. The Medicine Hat Tigers were great with him. And when he came back in the Western Hockey League final, he looked really good.
Yeah.
And I don't have any question in my mind that Caden Lidstrom is going to be a really good NHL player. He's going to be an impact player with his skill and his force. And I think Roger McQueen can have a similar impact on a franchise. So again, I'll be very clear. I don't do the medical work. I don't have to do the medical work. But if you're satisfied with the medical background and the medical opinion from your medical personnel, you have to be able to think that Roger McQueen is a guy you want to get after.
Just like the Blue Jackets were probably comfortable with Caden Lindstrom, right?
They are comfortable with Caden Lindstrom,
Yeah, yeah,
and they knew when they drafted him, they did the work. And then did it go? Did it keep him out of the lineup a little bit longer than maybe they expected? Yeah, but once they got to the root cause and got it corrected, and then were patient with the rehab process, everything else takes care of itself. I
yeah.
mean, Caden to me, and no question in my mind, is going to be a really, really impactful player in the NHL.
Yeah, he definitely will be. Number you got at number 24, you got Carter Bear from Everett. He had an amazing season. Where are you at with his development in terms of what he was able to do this year in his draft year? And then what do you think his ceiling could be when he gets a chance to get to the next level too?
Yeah, I think Carter's a hungry goal scorer. I think he gets in and around the net. He wants to pay a price to score goals, but he's not just a net presence. He can score in a lot of different ways. Smart goal scorers know how to get open, when to get open, and where to get open. And I think Carter checks all three of those boxes. And when you watch his improvement over the last few seasons, you see this clear upward trajectory in his play. Scoring goals is really hard, but when you watch the NHL and you see how hard it is to play inside hockey, inside the dots, into the slot, the inner slot area, I think that Carter Bear can do all those things and he can do them well. So you're watching what he's done in his Western Hockey League career, and now you're projecting that to the NHL. If he's not able to do those things in the Western Hockey League, you start to go, oh, okay, like, it's not going to get easier to do it at the NHL level.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not going to be easier because you do it at the at the Western Hockey League level, but you've shown that you're willing to do the things to score goals. And that's where I see Carter.
Yeah, yeah, it's what was it, 40 goals he had this year, I believe. So
Yep.
yeah, that's to do that in a pretty good league and in its own right is good. A player we've talked about before, Craig, and someone that we know on our end and on your end too, in the Fiddler family. You got Blake Fiddler with the Oil Kings at 39. He finished out the year pretty strong, did a lot of tournaments this year, was able to even get on the ice for the Oilers skills camp that they were doing with their skills day or all-star day that they had here in Edmonton. We got to reconnect with John Klingberg, who's someone he grew up knowing and idolizing as well too. But where are you at with Fiddler's game, and what's your ceiling on him? And obviously being a good, big, strong right shot defenseman as well too.
I think he's going to be a really good defensive defenseman. I think that his game is predicated on being hard to play against, doing the things that shrink ice on opponents. He gets in on your space. He plays hard. He makes sure that if you're going to try to attack into the net area, into that scoring area, that you are going to do everything you can. Everything, when I say everything you can, to ensure that it's hard on him. I don't think he's going to be a big offensive player. I think that he's going to be able to add a lot of different elements to your team that are important to winning. And when you have somebody that's such a good competitor and somebody that's willing to dig in, and we just watched the Stanley Cup Finals, like, bottom line is you need different types of players to take on different roles. And when you consider what he's able to do and how he goes about doing it, it becomes pretty impressive overall with respect to his game and how he approaches it, and that what I call heavy hard play. And when you can play heavy and hard, you're going to make life difficult for opponents. He's a competitor. He reminds me a lot of Josh Manson at the same age. And Josh Manson is a really good second pair defenseman. And I think that's where Blake will be.
Yeah. There's a lot of talk, like you've been around Brent Sutter and obviously Daryl Sutter in your time, and one of the things that they emphasize is the 5-foot pass. Do you think Blake kind of does that pretty well at the level that he's at? And obviously you can always improve that and get better.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be able to move the puck, and I think Blake moves the puck. And what you also have to understand is like what is my strengths of my game, and also what am I not capable of doing. So if I'm trying to help Blake Fiddler, if I'm somebody in development helping Blake Fiddler, I'm telling you got to get to a puck quick and then move the puck quick. Simple as that.
Yeah. Yeah, very well said. So there's 3 players that are listed at 5'7" here. So and obviously we talked about one of them, Cameron Schmidt, earlier this year. You got LT Mooney, and then I think it's Adam Benica as well too. Where are you at with their size, and do you think their size translates over pretty well to the National Hockey League? It obviously is probably the work that they got to put in themselves, but there is some recipe of seeing what Johnny Gaudreau has been able to do, Cole Caulfield, and obviously Martin St. Louis and others. But where are you at with their games, and what do you see in their games that you think is very intriguing?
But when you mentioned Caulfield, Goudreau, and St. Louis, first round pick, fourth round pick, and a free agent.
Mm-hmm.
So like very different paths to the NHL. And quite frankly, two of them stardom with Johnny Goudreau and Hall of Fame with Marty St. Louis. And certainly Cole Caulfield has a lot of those elements of stardom as well. The smaller player didn't just wake up one day and realize he was small. He
Mm-hmm.
didn't shrink from 6'2". So they've learned how to be very effective at their size for a long time. Now, does it become easier to go and play in the NHL? No, it doesn't become easier. But when you look at those three players specifically, Schmidt, Banach, and Mooney, they're competitors. They're quick, they're fast, they got skill, but they're going to need more time, not less. They're going to need time to go and move forward and grow physically and just understand that as they move to that next level, some of the things that they've been able to do a little bit easier are going to become a little bit harder. That's what Cole Caulfield figured out. That's what Marty St. Louis figured out. That's what Johnny Gaudreau figured out. But Marty St. Louis was 26 before he took a step forward in his career. Johnny Gaudreau was 3 years in college before he turned pro. And then we know that Cole Caulfield won the Hobie Baker after playing 2 years at the University of Wisconsin. And I tell young players, you better be ready to come to the NHL. Because if you're not ready, it will chew you up and spit you out like nothing. Alex Turcotte and Cole Caulfield went together to the University of Wisconsin. Alex Turcotte left after 1 year. He wasn't ready for the NHL. Just go look at Alex Turcotte's career right now. It's stumbled, it's staggered, it's not anywhere where you could say it's rooted. Cole Caulfield, as he got himself ready, it's rooted, and it's rooted in stardom. So when I look at Banach and I look at LJ Mooney and I look at Cameron Schmidt, they're going to need more time. Give yourself the time to get yourself ready.
Yeah. And we'll finish up on this one for the draft and get a few more out of here questions. But Matthew Schaefer, obviously the consensus number one. Where are you at with his game? And do you think his game is NHL ready this coming season if he was, to make that jump?
No, I don't think there's one player that's NHL ready coming out of this draft. Not one. And maybe I'm talking more about the 18-year-olds, the 17-year-olds. Maybe there's some 20-year-old that'll get drafted that you might think might be. I don't think there's one NHL ready player. Now, I've seen NHL teams put players in the NHL before they were ready, and it's just stupid. And it's not helping players develop. My dear friend Les Jackson said it for years. NHL teams fail players far more than players fail on their own. So Matthew Schaefer, he doesn't turn 18 until September. He only played 17 games this year. He's coming off of collarbone break and surgery. Go back to junior, go play junior. You're not ready for the NHL. You're not ready for the rigors of the NHL. So no, he's not even close to being ready. Let me be clear, not close.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what do I think he can be? I think he can be a number one defenseman in the NHL. I think one day he could be in the Norris Trophy conversation. He controls the game. He does things that are really important to winning in all areas of the game, in all situations. I've compared him to Drew Doughty. I think that Drew Doughty was never a top scorer in the NHL, but he never was any less of an important player for your team because of all the things that he did, all the heavy lifting that he did for your team. And I think Matthew Schaefer has all the same type of attributes and is that type of player for a franchise.
Yeah, and it doesn't hurt, as you and others have said, and Ray Ferraro says always too. Find me anything that someone's been rushed that it's worked out, because it doesn't. So it's the opposite. So, and what's your overall thoughts of this draft? You obviously just said there's not anyone NHL ready, but in terms of this draft comparing to some others, where are you at with this one? Are you bullish on
It's
it?
like any other draft. I'll tell you what the numbers are. Numbers are real straight.
Yeah.
There'll be 45 guys approximately that'll play 350 games or more in the NHL. Some will come from past the second round. 7 or 8 of the players drafted in the first round will not have any NHL career of any significance.
Mm-hmm.
That's the numbers. I can't tell you who.
Yeah.
I can't tell you who. I just told you 7 or 8 from the first round will not have an NHL career of any significance. These are all the players that have been the best at the levels below the NHL. The NHL scouts are putting a stake in the ground on these players. This draft is like any other. There's going to be 45 players approximately that'll play 350 games or more.
Yeah.
We'll hear about a third, a fourth, a sixth round draft pick. We'll hear about a second round pick. How did they get them there? That's just the way it goes. And this draft has lots of quality, in my view, all the way in through the second round. And I know there's going to be players drafted after that that are going to be NHL players and have really good careers.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's our NHL draft report, sponsor our friends at Sheena Boychuk Real Estate, Realty by Design, your design approach to real estate. Reach out to Sheena for if you're looking at buying or selling any of your houses, or you're looking at buying some of that property as well too. We'll get a few more out of here, Craig, on the Oilers, and just kind of your overall thoughts on what you heard from Connor McDavid in the exit meetings, his last press conference before he broke away for the summer. Are you bullish on him re-signing an 8-year deal, or does he got to see what the Oilers can do here in terms of that, or is it more of a 2-year, 4-year, 5-year deal? Where are you at with him in his one?
Yeah. Connor McDavid is an Edmonton Oiler. He's the captain of the Edmonton Oilers. They've gone to back-to-back Stanley Cup finals. They have 10, 11 really good, solid players. And we know what Connor and Leon are. I mean, they're two, if not the two best players on the planet. And to me, Connor is wired to win. And with the cap going up and everything that goes with the cap going up, like I don't think there would be any harm. This is me speaking, in Connor McDavid taking a 4-year deal and then coming back after that, as the cap is up higher and whatnot, and trying to make sure that he gets paid appropriately. Because right now, at $12.5 million, Connor McDavid's been underpaid for the last 3 or 4 years. And I get everybody looks at an 8-year deal. Austin Matthews signed a 4-year deal coming off his last deal when he could have been a free agent. And I think Connor is something he can look at and make sure that he doesn't leave any money on the table. But I have zero doubt that Connor McDavid is going to be an Edmonton Oiler for the foreseeable future. And foreseeable future might mean right until he's 40.
Mhm.
But I think that he's earned everything that he's done in his career, everything he's done for the Edmonton Oilers. He's earned the right to have a voice with management.
Yeah.
And they should be engaging with Connor McDavid. Hey, here's what we're thinking. What are your thoughts? That doesn't mean he's a decision maker. That doesn't mean that he's the final decision maker or everything he says is going to be the final word. But he needs to have a voice, and he should have a voice, and he's earned that voice.
Yes, very well said. Well, two more to get you before we get you out. Just Evander Kane, obviously, the injury that happened throughout the year and wasn't able to play, came back in the playoffs, very effective for the first 3 rounds. Maybe not as effective as he would want in the organization, won in the cup final. A lot could be made about him in terms of character issues off the ice, and we'll leave that there. We're not going to get into that. But I just wondered your thoughts. And it was something interesting yesterday because MJ was on overdrive yesterday, and they were talking about maybe moving on from Kane. And I thought Brian Hayes made a good point, and we kind of doubled down on it in terms of, and I understand the age difference is different in terms of what Nazem Kadri age when he left Toronto. He was 29, 28, and then Evander Kane's 34. But Hayes's thoughts and mine would be the same, is just be careful what you wish for in terms of a motivated player leaving. That might kind of come back at you. I just kind of wonder your thoughts on, if the Oilers were to move on from Kane, is that a good decision, bad decision? He's going into a contract year, so we see sometimes that doesn't work out and it does work out. But your thoughts on Evander Kane and his time with the Edmonton Oilers?
I guess the first thing I would say is what are you moving on to? Not what are you moving on from? What are you moving on to? I wouldn't exclude anything from being considered if you can improve your team. So that's my preamble. Now here's where I'm at. Evander's a really good player, and Evander's a very unique player, and that type of player at his contract is extremely valuable. So unless you can go and find a way to take what he makes and what he offers to go and add to your team and at the very least be as strong a team with Evander in it as without him and whatever you're going to do, like what are you doing? What are you doing? I mean, he was fantastic when he came back for the Edmonton Oilers. I think there was a couple of things that hurt the Edmonton Oilers once they got to the final, and Evander Kane got caught up in it. You want him to be aggressive, you want him to be physical, and he was. He ended up with a few penalties early on in the series, and Florida made them pay. Florida scored. And now, what does that do? What does a good power play do? It backs you off. And now you got to be a little bit more careful. Now you get away from your game. Like if they kill those penalties, if this year's penalty killing was last year's penalty killing in the playoffs, I think Evander Kane, they just go, hey, we'll kill those penalties, keep going. But everybody got kind of backed off because of well, call it the power play for the Florida Panthers, but the penalty killing for the Oilers was terrible the whole playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like it just showed up in the final. And that's going to hurt your aggressiveness. Evander Kane has been a really good player for the Edmonton Oilers. And again, I'm going to go like all the little whispers, I want Evander Kane on my team.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you can improve on Evander Kane, and I say good luck with that, you got to have him back. And he's got to be the left winger with Leon Draisaitl, or the left winger with Connor McDavid, wherever you want. He's a top two-line player. Just go look at his record in the NHL when he's been healthy and what he's offered. He's been a really good, strong, unique, physical player.
Yeah, I definitely well said, Craig. And yeah, we kind of put out a tweet yesterday, got a lot of traction. Everyone has their opinion, I guess, when you put something out on social media, but very well said. And hey, I'll say this, the time he's been here in Edmonton, I don't live, not that I'm his neighbor, but I don't live too far from him now here in Edmonton. And this guy's a very great community member. He's done a lot in this area, in this community. So we'll see what happens. The last one we'll get you out on. I know last time I saw you was in Calgary, and just seeing what Craig Conroy has been able to do. I just want to get your thoughts on the future of the Flames organization under Craig Conroy and Ryan Huska. I think two amazing people and two great leaders that this organization has to lead this team to a very great playoff runs in the future, and obviously in the new barn that they're going to have in a few years too.
One of three teams that missed the playoffs with 96 points. So, you look at a team that missed the playoffs and, you find a point somewhere through the course of 82 games and you're in the playoffs. So I don't think that was expected. I felt at the beginning of the year that the Flames would be very competitive and a lot of things would have to go right for them to make the playoffs. Well, they got right there. They were right there, right on the cusp of it and just missed. And I think that was significant for the progress of the organization, but more significant for the belief in what you're doing. The summer before, Craig Conroy takes over. He's going to be tested by other general managers. He's got all these free agents. He's got to sign players. If they're not going to fit into what they want to do contractually in their salary cap, he's got to move them. And I think Craig showed that he has the mettle, that he's got the nerve to be a really good general manager. Craig is a wonderful guy. Do not ever underestimate the competitive fire that burns hot in this guy. And I think that he showed in that first year as a general manager, don't mess with him. I'm here for business, but I'm not here for tomfoolery. So don't phone me if you're not serious. And he's done that. They've taken their young players. They've allowed them to develop. They've allowed them to grow. Oh, yeah, we're back to this growing part and development part. One of the things I keep hearing is, Sam Honzek didn't have a good year in the American Hockey League. Okay, define a good year. Like, if you want to look at the stat sheet, you go, okay, yeah, maybe he didn't do it. But like any other player, you're trying to get your feet wet. The NHL's hard. Look at Matt Coronado. Matt Coronado now comes off signing a big long-term contract with the Flames. Development, patience, everything that goes with it. You go back and look over in time and what they've done with their young players. They've done a nice job. And Craig Conroy is not going to stop doing that. But I think the belief they have in terms of we're going to continue to push forward here. We don't have to tear it down to the studs. I don't think they have to. To me, that's something that now they're shown unequivocally that they can be good. They got a number one goaltender. That is significant. They got lots of good young players in their system that are going to contribute and be good players down that late in the years to come. It's not going to happen next year. But this was all done with the idea that in the end of the 27-28 season, that they could be competitive. Well, they already are competitive. They showed that this year. They're only going to become that much more competitive. And by 27-28, Coronado's older, Hansek's older, Greeding's older, Parek's older, Kevin Ball's older, Dustin Wolf's older, Ryan Huska's older. Everybody's older. They got some terrific prospects, and I think the future is really bright for the Calgary Flames. But it's easy to say, "Oh yeah, complete rebuild." Oh yeah, go to Harvard Business School and tell them that's going to be your plan. You'll fail.
Miserably and mightily in that. I lied. Last one, Peter Hanlon, assistant general manager. You know this man all too well. He gave us our first break here at our podcast and giving us a media pass, but you know him better than I do. Well deserved, isn't it, for getting that position and what he's done for the city of Calgary and the community of Calgary too.
Listen, Peter's a dear friend. When I came to Calgary in 2000, Peter was instrumental in helping me and guiding me and helping me understand so many different things about the community, about the organization, and everything in between. And nothing has changed in the time since. And he knows the game intimately well. He's passionate. He's hardworking. And you might find people as good as Peter. You're not going to find people better than Peter. And I think it's a most deserving recognition of what he has done, but just as importantly, of what his knowledge base is and what he can contribute as this team moves into a really, what I'll call a Stanley Cup competitive window.
Yeah, very well said. It's a great way to end because they are going to be contending for cups for years to come under this regime. So, Craig, again, as always, it's always fun to have you on, and I appreciate everything that you do for us and obviously what you do in the community. You're a beauty, as everyone knows. So, thank you so much.
Thanks, Josh. Have a great day.